Axel Salto once said, "Nature sings with 100 mouths." And in a funny way, that's a perfect description of what he achieved in ceramics. A gathering like this one at Sotheby's captures not just the diversity of his work, but also the power of it. The way that it reaches out surprises you, just as nature itself does. Axel Salto was a Danish artist, born in 1889, died in 1961. He started out as a painter and a draftsman, a maker of graphic arts, also an editor for a very important avant-garde art magazine called Klingen in Copenhagen. It was that time of revolution in the arts when Picasso and other artists were completely reinventing their mediums, and he went on to do exactly that in ceramics. If you've never seen Salto's work before in person, you might see things that remind you particularly of natural forms, a great inspiration from him. You might see a bird's head, you might see a leaf, a tendril, a lizard. But what you're really seeing is movement, motion, vitality. He was super interested in the idea that all the things around us were alive and that he could somehow capture that vibrant motion in his work. He studied plants very, very closely, really trying to understand what it was that made them change, made them transform, the way that they would capture light and transmute that energy into new possibility. This group of objects that are on offer at Sotheby's is a truly once-in-a-lifetime gathering. One that I think is particularly important is his Oxblood glazed vase in the sprouting style. That was his term for this kind of surging organic manner that he mastered in the 1930s and 40s. And it is so varied, so diverse, really no part of it is like any other part. It truly exemplifies the force of his creativity in action. There's really no one like Salto in his generation. Later on, we might think of people like Lucio Fontana in Italy, who's a near contemporary of his, but really Salto is the earliest person that we can point to who's truly revolutionizing the idea of the vessel and making it into a vehicle for expressionist sculpture. One of the things that we love about Salto's work are the glazes. What you see is this incredible landscape of motion. He was also very interested in the glazes of ancient China, medieval China. This piece is often described as being in his blue mussel glaze. That's mussel as in the shell. So this is a kind of maritime, aquatic feeling. And indeed, this object feels almost like it has been mined from the ocean floor. But it's just one example of the incredible polychrome palette that he brought to his work. The vase that's sitting on my right is another amazing example of his work, really from the peak of his career. And it's an explosive design. As you can see, it almost looks weaponized, but then you look more closely at it and you see the subtlety of it, the sensitivity with which he's handled each of these spikes, which for him were an emblem of becoming. Salto talked about the burning now, which when you first hear it sounds like something happening in the kiln. So he puts these objects in, they're transformed by fire, they come out emerged. It's a metamorphosis. There's a unique object in the sale, which we call his bird vase. I don't think we know what he called it, but it's very unusual in that it's unglazed. You have these bird heads that are emerging from the neck of the vessel right at its top, and they make you think about mythology. They might make you think about ancient stories about griffins, about phoenixes. So you're really seeing, as it were, a pot that's transforming itself into a flock of birds before your eyes. One way of thinking about Salto's work is that it is fantastical. It can even be a little bit unsettling. You know, these objects have an extraordinary life of their own. And in some ways, it's as if he's observing them taking form as much as he's directing that form. So he joins us in marveling at these creations.